It's All Things Considered, and I'm Dave Lawrence. We are continuing our off-the-road interview series today. You can find the complete series with hours of interviews and many exclusive musical performances waiting for you at hawaiipublicradio.org. And also subscribe and get the latest episodes on Apple, Google, and Spotify podcasts, plus find segments on our HPR app. Today, it's the Stray Cats bassist, vocalist, and multi-instrumentalist Lee Rocker. He's got a new album, Gather Round, largely based on his pandemic experience. No doubt the most unusual we've heard so far on Off the Road. Welcome, Lee.
Hey, Dave. How are you?
I'm grateful to talk to you, actually. How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for doing this. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Where are you joining us from?
I'm calling you from Laguna Beach, California.
And that's where you live, yeah?
Yes, here and in New York some of the time, although this year I haven't been to New York enough.
Okay. And before your adventure began last year, explain how the pandemic first became news on your personal radar and the initial ways that it began to affect your life.
I first became aware of it early in the year, really, January or maybe February. I was in New York City, where I am part-time, and really just started to see some masks being worn, hearing about what was going on in Wuhan. At that point, right in February, was probably the last time I've been on a stage, longest gap of not performing, probably since I'm 13 years old.
Wow.
And flew back here to California.
And the last gig was where?
I think it may have been in Ohio.
So one of the things that is unusual about this Off the Road segment is you did something that nobody else we've talked to has done.
Well, I really realized something about myself with this pandemic year, being in lockdown. I've spent 40 years on the road, and traveling is really in my blood. So what I did, I got an Airstream trailer, RV, and my wife and I headed out across the country, 20 states, about 6,000 miles. We went out through the 40, the old Route 66, across the country. We went straight over, kept going, and got to about Virginia and took a left and went up to New York, where I spent a couple of weeks. After that, headed back in a more northern route. So I was on the road for about 6 weeks. And of course, I had a guitar with me. I didn't bring a bass because I had basses in New York waiting for me. But on that trip, I wrote most of the record. And it became a really introspective, kind of amazing thing. I mean, the pandemic is raging. The election is raging, and I'm back on the road doing everything that I'm used to, except doing a concert at the end of the day. And for me, it gave me some sense of normalcy in a way.
Right.
I mean, rolling down the highway and seeing the country is something that I'm just so used to doing. It was an amazing journey. As well as an outward journey, it was an inward journey because of writing this record. I found that this album is sort of a scrapbook of my year. The song Gather Round is really about hopping in the Airstream and taking off. That sort of to me felt like, flipping the middle finger out the window, and I'm still going to take some joy out of some things.
So what's the time frame of the 6 weeks?
It was August into mid-September.
So you stayed put for the initial frightening period of this before actually going and buying the Airstream during the pandemic, if I have it right, and then beginning.
Yeah, well, I had to buy it, and it took a little while to get it and get up to speed on it. But, I think in my subconscious, I was planning this thing from day one almost. I really jumped pretty quickly as a way to get out from under, and it worked. I've lived on a tour bus on and off for decades, so this is very at home to me.
When you reflect back on it, what were some of the either scary moments or some sketchy locations, encounters, anything that you said, wow, this is really intense to see the world during this time?
Some places driving across the South got a little hairy with Confederate flags flying like I really haven't seen a lot of. I mean, obviously you see that, but at that moment in time through Tennessee and Arkansas, not everywhere, but big swaths of the country with a lot of Confederate kind of
imagery.
One of the other things that was frightening was just simply like weather. In an insane deluge of a rainstorm in Missouri in the Mark Twain National Forest. And I stayed kind of off the grid a lot of times and did things like that, just really having no one or very few people around us, just my wife and I. Another incredible stop for me, West Memphis, just on the western side of the Mississippi River, and sat there with my guitar and just watched that river go.
Wow.
That's a part of the world I got a real affinity for. I've spent a lot of time in Memphis, one of the birthplaces of rockabilly with Sun Studios.
Right.
And I love seeing that river and those barges.
Oh, I bet. Do you have a catalog of all the states that you went to? It was 20 states, yeah?
It was 20, just a mental one, yeah.
You left California. What was the first one?
Arizona, New Mexico, got to Texas and went by the Cadillac Ranch.
Wow.
Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, if I'm getting that right. And then on the way back, I went more northern and went through Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Kansas, Colorado. Most everything was closed, and I was on the road avoiding things more than looking for them,
right.
to be frank. But when I got back to California, I knew I wanted to get in the recording studio. That raised certain challenges as well. What I did is I booked a studio that I've worked at quite a bit here in Southern California, worked with the engineer before, and really set it up where he would unlock the door. He'd be in the control room and I would be in the studio. So there would be glass windows between us.
Right.
And I did most of this record completely myself. I played a lot of the instruments. My band is amazing. Buzz Campbell, Matt Jordan, and Larry Mitchell, all over this record as well. But I'd be in a studio with glasses, headphones, and a mask most of the time, unless I was singing. And my musicians would send in their tracks. I would build the tracks. I'd put together instruments. I'd play guitars and basses and mandolins and harmonicas, and isolating myself from everything else. It was like being in a spacesuit for the most part. Yeah. But this bizarre, terrible year sort of forced a different way of doing things overall for me, from the writing process to the recording process.
Did you stay in that vehicle? You never stayed in any kind of hotel or anything along the way?
No, I did not sleep anywhere but in the vehicle. Did not really even go in anywhere. I mean, all gas stations, of course, you just pull up and, put on a mask and pump gas and get back in. So I think I've barely been indoors besides that studio.
And what about the food? How'd you do the food? You just pick up stuff places?
Brought a lot of stuff with us, and then on occasion would pick something up or drive through or something. Any
mechanical troubles with that thing or other challenges that over 6 weeks, 6,000 miles, 20 states, crisscrossing the United States, I can't believe no trouble with that vehicle?
No, I got really, since then something's happened, but I got really lucky on that trip. Nothing went wrong. I'm not a mechanical person. At one point, some kind of strange light lit up on the dashboard, and I pulled over and started Googling things, and apparently there's something called diesel exhaust fluid that I had no idea of, and I did manage to refill that.
Have you seen your bandmates in person at all?
No, actually.
Wow.
Now that you mention it, have not. I mean, we're on the phone and texting, but I have not.
Amazing.
Yeah, we're hoping to get back into rehearsal once everyone is vaccinated, and we are booking concerts starting in September. Some outdoor dates, some indoor dates in the U.S., and then some European concerts in October. So I'm really hoping we get to do that.
It's Lee Rocker of the Stray Cats, and tomorrow we'll wrap it up with more fun storytelling and an exclusive musical performance. Find the complete Off the Road series at hawaiipublicradio.org. Subscribe to the latest episodes on Apple, Google, and Spotify podcasts, and find them on our HPR app. I'm Dave Lawrence.